evening, everyone. It is 5:30, Tuesday, February 25th, 2025, and this is a meeting of the Golf Facilities Exploratory Committee. Do I have a motion to open?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right, gentlemen, first on the new business, we're going to appoint a chairman and vice chairman. Do I have a motion to appoint chairman?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dave DeRoche as the chairman. I think his experience in the town meeting and the rules and regulations of how things run, with his experience, I think it would be a good way to start.
A second. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I'd like to make a motion to make Rick DiPrato vice chairman of the board. Comes with a lot of experience, as we all do, but his work with Titleist and his organizational skills, I believe, will help us very much move this process forward.
A second.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Thank you. So let's move on. I just wanted to read one thing, just to refresh all our memory. The purpose of the Golf Facilities Exploratory Committee is to advise the Golf Course Management Committee and the Board of Selectmen on the development of the golf course facilities clubhouse plan, which reflects, and this is, I find, the most important part, which reflects the Acushnet River Valley Golf Course's priorities and goals for the upcoming years. I did, as mentioned, I wasn't at the last meeting, but I did watch today and took down a few notes that I'd like to pursue, a little bit out of order from what the agenda is, but I did see some extended discussion, and I think it's important for us to establish the timeline for this committee's function. As was talked about, they're aiming for the fall meeting this year to get the process rolling, to get funds appropriated. I don't know if that's going to need a vote of the committee, or I'm sorry, of the townspeople, or if it's going to be funded through the golf course itself. Because you do have a reserve of funds.
Yes.
And I'm unfamiliar with, that you just said that there was a contract signed today, and I don't know anything about the parameters of that. But I still think it's important that we establish some kind of final date that we have to present this. And I'm opening up the floor for any suggestions on how we'd like to handle it.
Well, I think we talked about in the very first meeting that June wasn't attainable, or the May deadline to get to the selectmen wasn't attainable. We're just kicking this off. This is our first meeting. We're trying to get some traction. I don't think June's a reasonable date. So I think the fall meeting, and maybe we should tell them that sooner rather than later. Is that reasonable?
Absolutely.
Well,
I feel like that was kind of established to it, that with the meeting with the selectmen, they kind of recognized that it wasn't.
That they would make the June meeting for the town meeting, because that's what we're gonna kind of decide. Once we establish a timeline, then we're gonna hand this off to the golf committee. And then they're gonna, as I say, put their fingerprints on it, and then it's gonna go to the select board. So if you're looking at October, last year they had the town meeting, I looked it up, it was September 30th for the fall meeting. But previous, they've had it in mid-October to beginning of November.
May I interrupt? It was early last year because of elections, because of the presidential election and things like that. So typically it is like the October, early November the latest.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
So I guess we should work backwards from that, because that would be the first moment. And I did take a lot of this from what the architect was saying last week in the meeting, that he was saying if he could get something in 2.5 months as a conceptual plan or conceptual ideas from this committee, then from there they'll take it and build upon that. And then he was looking at 3 to 6 months, which puts you in late August, early September. So they would have concepts and then bring that to the select board for the fall meeting. That's how I took it, that sort of thing. So if we kind of went in the 2.5 range, we would be setting a timeline of, I believe that was like mid-May, that we would have something that give us March, April, and 10 weeks to do that. And it's all gonna determine on how many times we wanna meet. If we wanna meet once a week, if we wanna meet every other week, you know, then that could fluctuate the timeline. But, you know, so those are my thoughts on it, you know, and I'm open to anything else that we all have to say about it, you know?
I think the more we meet, the better.
Yeah, at least once.
And, you know, I'm sure everybody's got their own, and I mean, everyone sitting here has their own opinion or their own views on how this should be established and what they would like in a clubhouse. So whether we all voice our own little tidbits of information, but when it comes right down to it, it's a building that we have to create. Where it goes is probably not up to us. We all might like it, I'll say it, on the putting green.
Right.
I think that's the best spot, and I'm probably 90% of everybody, but that's really not up to us. It's up to an architect, it's up to, Steve's gotta have some input on
Sure.
that.
And you don't know,
And just the
we don't know what the
The
irrigation.
elevation of the property?
elevation of the property, how
I
a
think
building
that's
can fit
one of the
here,
bigger
where can you
things.
excavate and all that. I'm not an excavator.
Right.
We have, you know, people that even in town or even here that have that knowledge, but just when it comes down to that, now that, once we establish that, then we decide what do we want to do? What kind of a building? Because when it comes down to it, we're talking about a building.
Right.
That's what we want, a clubhouse. And like I said, where it goes, we'd all like it on the putting green. But if it can't happen,
Right.
We need plan B.
Well,
you mentioned
and
that.
Rich and I, when we walked it, I mean, you guys have played the place, you know, you have the putting green, you have all that land where the tent is, you actually have all those trees that are behind 10. You have the current, where the current clubhouse is, so there is a lot of space over there. And you have all that land that goes down towards the tee boxes and towards 6 that way, down to the gazebo. So I mean, there is a huge parcel of land. I mean, that you could fit this thing in many different ways. So, like you said, we can have the bubble plan of maybe different options of where we want to put it, but if we can kind of come to terms on what we want in it, and
That's the big thing, and the elevation on where, what we're gonna do. Are you gonna do a deck for the outside space? Are you gonna do a slab on grade, like you have now, pretty much?
my biggest.
It's the need, what's the golf
Right,
course's need?
so as I was discussing with Rich, my biggest priority, I think, is to determine, are we going to put the carts underneath it? Because that determines your foundation, right? And the carts, you got 74 carts, and so you're basically gonna have 8 rows of essentially 10, right? So we have 74 carts, so you gotta plan it out. You're gonna have, you can't do 8 of 9, that's 72, you're gonna include the last 2 carts to make it 74, so you're gonna have the extra. So you're gonna have 8 rows of 10 carts, and each cart is 4.5 feet wide and 7.5 feet long. And what I'm thinking, the operations that I've seen, they almost like Noah's Ark, they do them in pairs, 2, 2, 2, and 2, and then there's a 2-foot space, 2, 2, 2, all the way down, and another space. And if we're gonna do electric, you're gonna have above it so that both carts can plug into that section, right? And then you have the walking space, and you paint the lines on the floor, and the carts go in the same position every time.
has anybody been in the country club's facility?
I haven't been in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
You been in down there?
The outside catch, I mean?
No, they put them underneath.
Yeah, that's what I mean, below the clubhouse, yeah.
Yeah.
what country,
Yeah.
which country?
New Bedford Country Club?
I worked there for 10 years. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you have all the carts underneath that so-called,
Yeah, that was a huge renovation that they did, cost several $1 million, I think, and like, but I think the idea was it saved money putting the carts underneath the clubhouse because you didn't have to do a second foundation and,
or keep them outside under a tent.
yeah, I mean,
it have to be electric though.
but if you're doing electric, because theirs is electric, then you want it obviously not an
We
intent.
have
to do
to-
anything.
well, I
Couldn't
think
put gas
these-
cuts under that.
Right, well, and these are the determinations that we have to make.
Right, but I'd just like to get back to the original topic, is setting up a timeline here, because then we're gonna move on.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's second, what we're going into now is
Mhm.
my second
Gotcha.
comment on that. So we could push it to the 23rd of May, which is the weekend before Memorial Day, to issue the final report to the committee.
Is this to go ahead for the June meeting at all?
No,
Because-
we're not gonna be involved in
Okay,
the
good.
June meeting.
Good.
This would come around, from what I saw in discussion last week, the earliest would be October, or have a special town meeting
Right.
concerning it directly, depending on, what the issues are in town at the time.
So you're looking for basically a nuts and bolts,
I'm looking-
conceptual plan to be ready for.
Well, I'm looking for what we're gonna give the golf committee
And the architect.
and the architect.
Right. So if he signed the contract now, is he working? What's he working on?
Oh, I don't know, he signed the contract, he's working on, cashing the check, no. He's, I don't know what his process is, I haven't seen any memo from him. It was mentioned that someone would receive something maybe on Monday, and that didn't happen. So, that's to follow up on our next meeting. Like we can put that on the agenda, how the architect is handling it. You can contact him, start throwing around what we bring out of today's meeting,
So
and
you
go
think,
from there.
you think from now till that date in May is our job to deliver something to the committee and to the architect?
That's correct.
Okay, let's just stamp that now, and then it's gonna go by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
So
it
we
gives
should
us
can
about-
reach, is that what you estimated?
Make
If we have something sooner than that, great.
We could have.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree.
My next question is that a realistic timeline? In 10 weeks to come up with
Well, that gives us 12.
12 weeks?
Yeah, 12 weeks.
So this, I think it is. I think what we should do is we should come up with a worst-case plan, which is essentially putting 2 more double wides there, which is worst case,
Yeah.
not keeping it, right?
Right.
And then iterate, like go to, like an extreme, deliver an extreme case, and then maybe 3 in the middle. Like I think someone said, give them a few options, right? And I say we give them 4 or 5 options, and then we have a shot at this at some level, right? Because if we go to them with some robust idea that's costing, and in a casual conversation I had with someone, like they don't want this to be a $5 million building. So I think what we need to do is, while we're doing this 12-week plan, is understand what the budget looks like. Because we can't go too far. A budget is gonna be critical for us. And the other thing I think we should, while I have a second, if the carts don't go underneath, is there an appetite to protect the carts in a steel building where they're currently located?
Yes.
The metal buildings are fairly easy and they're reasonably cheap, and it doesn't have to be that big, and you can wire them and you can put charging stations in them. I've seen them before. A lot of maintenance buildings are metal buildings, and so it's just, I'm trying to spur ideas and keep the construction of a building. And the other thing about a building is, if it's gonna go in the putting green, where are you gonna put that putting green? Because we're not getting rid of the putting green, and that's
Steve
cost.
conceptually said possibly shifting that to where the current trailer is, if the building is pushed back into that area.
So
Or even
I-
if the tent is.
Yes,
I think budget is as big a part of this in the early stages as our ideas.
The biggest part.
I think so, because we could go too far and never have a shot at
The
doing this.
budget matters based off of our ideas. If our ideas are too extravagant and they can't pay for it, our ideas are
that's not
useless.
gonna happen.
So the question would be, if you're gonna do either a slab on, now you're looking at the foundations, if you're doing a slab on grade, it's gonna be X amount. If you're gonna do a foundation, it's gonna be X amount more. If you do the golf carts and separately a slab on grade with a space building over it, what's that gonna cost versus a full foundation versus a slab? So the architect is gonna have to give us some basic costs, and he should be able to, with means construction book, to give us some basic ideas of, well, this should cost you this should ballpark this.
And when we discussed it at that last meeting, we said 74 cots, and he spit out the square footage just based on that alone. So, I mean, obviously, he's done this
Yeah, so-
numerous times
Say
over.
5,000 square.
Yeah,
45,000.
5,000.
That's a,
Big space.
right.
Right.
So, and then.
So the 20, are we looking for a date in May to stamp that as part of our agenda? And then I just want to make sure that the budget was part of that discussion.
Oh, absolutely. There's all these things here that are gonna be part of our discussion. I just feel it's necessary for us to at least stay on course and know we have some sort of ending date. It could always be extended, you know, once we get into this and we discuss more, that sort of thing. But just to have an ending date gives us a focus that we gotta keep moving.
Mr. Jimmy, can we do, in the sense, if we're gonna do that, to say we have an anticipated ending date of,
Perfect.
in case something happens where we get bogged down in details or we don't have enough information to expedite that by that timeline, to say, as much as we anticipated or hoped they would finish on this date, that we're gonna need a little bit more time.
Okay.
Because my biggest concern is that the focus should be on getting the building right, or the ideas right, rather than, oh, we're on the clock here and we gotta get that done ASAP.
Sure, but I think he's right by saying we gotta put a deadline on this, because the architect, after we're done, the architect has to do this work.
Right.
Right.
Design it, right?
Right, and he was talking 3 to 6 months, I just jotted down late August. And that's why my question was, is this still gonna go before the town in August if this is just a continuation of his services? We're not really into the construction costs yet, because he was talking about getting the estimators and, you know, producing a couple of conceptual ideas, that sort of thing. So, you know, if you're into late August, yeah, if it's going before town meeting, if you're gonna borrow that particular amount of money, I don't know what his fees are, you know, if they need that, or if the golf committee is gonna just fund that portion themselves, and then when it comes to the point of, we're gonna spend X amount of dollars, then it goes before the town, and really, this is an enterprise fund. The course is operating as a business, it's just owned by the town. So it still has the same business principles as a private club. And it's been showing that it's been making money, and in 2 years, the note is going to, you know, that $350,000 a year is going to be gone. And you guys will be, you know, I mean, I'm just throwing rough numbers out there, you'll be in 600,000. If the numbers would stay the same, on the same trajectory, you'd be creating that kind of profit. So asking the townspeople is almost like they're just co-signing, in a sense. We're not asking them to pay.
Yeah, then we're not using their
taxpayer
tax, right, they're not using their taxes, it's all
I got a little
self-sustained.
off from there, but, so,
Does it require a motion for that, for this, to set the timeline?
yes, it would. Make them out in, how did you express it?
Anticipated?
Anticipated. Okay, so gentlemen, do I have a motion for anticipated committee's completion by May 23rd, 2025?
Motion as stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Yeah,
So-
you just,
Okay.
Rich just mentioned that we're gonna bring a plan to the architect and he's gonna design it. Is he designing this building or are we doing that?
I think we're putting together conceptual ideas, maybe pieces that we'd like to see incorporated, and as Rich said, maybe do a couple of versions, if we, you know, if we have enough time to do that, and then collectively put it on his desk, and he's putting together the plans. And he also has a partner that comes in and assists in traffic flow, as far as where the cart paths would go around the building and
That's
advise.
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's,
And I said, one of my main concerns is the further back we push this building towards the putting green, we still have to anticipate, and it was mentioned, aesthetics for the customers coming into play, right? So the further back you push the building, your customers can't really see it. And two, food, beverage, deliveries, you gotta have access, ingress, egress for trucks to get in and out of the property. I mean, we don't want them to stop 40 yards away from the building and then hand truck, you know, 17, 20 cases of soda, 50 cases of beer, and we're gonna manually do that on the regular.
Dana, quick question.
I mean, I guess if you had utility carts, you could probably, but it wouldn't be a best case scenario.
If you do a standalone building for the golf course, is that doable, problematic?
Well, that,
What do you mean, as far as having a cart barn and a building?
Yes.
It's, again, this isn't, it's not my house, it's kind of like, what does the town want to do with the property? But either way, you can do that. And one of my concerns was, and I've said this numerous times with the golf committee, is our current setup, if you've been down there, we're running the entire property where the cots is currently set up.
Okay.
So, I have a sketch in here that I prepared for them.
Where do you keep it in winter? In the facility?
They're out in the.
They're in the
They're
ground.
Right in the pen. But basically, if you were to build a rectangle of our property, the gas is located up at Steve's building. The cots are down by the pro shop, and we were staging them on the left. And then the first tee is equidistant as the gas is to the cots. So you have my guys that are all in their mid-70s running around, you know what I mean, scatterbrain every single day, putting through, when COVID was there, 42,000 rounds, and now we're around 36,000 rounds. So you couldn't put us at a wider, the furthest point of operation. If we can kind of reel this in and make it operationally fit, that would be the best interest. You want the cots located, I would say you come off 18, the cots should be returned there, right? And when you pick up a cart, 1 and 18 are in the same spot, so it would make sense to have the cots, I would say, housed somewhere in that
And that's
vicinity.
kind of where the clubhouse is.
Right.
It'd
So
be ideal
when the
to
guy
put in
comes
one
in,
side out the other.
right, he gets his receipt, he picks up his cart, he goes and plays golf, he finishes off 18, the same place he started, he turns in his cart. Perfect.
After he drops his clubs off?
Yes.
Yeah, you can do
No,
that.
actually, the golf committee is very much in favor of eliminating, and that's the other thing we want to think, eliminate the carts from the parking lot. We want to have people drive up, drop
You know
off.
better than anybody else.
Yes,
Bad job.
They walk up to the clubhouse, they pay you,
yep,
they get in a golf cart, and they drive down.
correct.
Halfway through the parking lot, mainly to put something in their
That's
golf
right.
cart.
So, I mean, when you go play Pine Hills,
Beer.
there's, when you play Pine Hills, there's no opportunities to load your bags with beers. Because you drive in, you drop off your clubs to the guy, he takes it, he puts it on your cart, and then after you're done paying, your stuff is already on a cart going towards the tee that you're gonna go play,
Yeah.
right?
I don't want to get too bogged down in operations, but how do you police that?
Me personally, I'm not a police officer.
No, not
And
you,
they have
the whole staff.
a 5-foot bag, again, I've had this discussion numerous times. I don't have the authority to, hey, your bag's dripping, what's in it?
I said it differently. Let me,
Well, Brookside, I believe, doesn't let you take carts beyond their.
Correct.
right, that's what I was asking. How do you stop people from going to the parking lot?
Right, you put a stockade fence, you put some type of,
No carts beyond this
Barrier
point.
that
That's
they
how
can't.
most do it.
absolutely,
My thought, all that sort of stuff, that now you have a chance to get it
You can
right the
control
way
it.
you want it.
Correct.
And that's where, at least for me and for everybody here, your input on what you need out of that course is really gonna move our design in the right direction.
yes. There's no way to police it without putting up barriers. You couldn't hire enough staff to try and change the program that we currently have and stop the things that are happening now, but without putting things in the right place.
I mean, I assume it would come with a big car upgrade, but they also have like the GPS where it shuts it down if it goes, you know?
If we went forward, I mean, steps ahead in this process, and we did the lithium battery, because I mentioned at the last meeting, I'm in discussions with them, the lithium battery carts, the electric lithium battery are the higher end electric carts. The lithium batteries don't have a maximum usage, they last longer, they hold charges longer, but they're like $1,000 more than the cheaper battery ones. However, he said with the amount of rounds, I mean, we're a factory of golf. The amount of rounds that we do, the carts might initially take 6 hours to charge, but by the end of the lease on those carts, it's gonna take 10 hours to charge them, and you're gonna have to replace the battery, which costs $1,500 on 74 carts. So going lithium, possibly thinking GPS, stopping the cots from going to certain
You
areas.
usually get 2 rounds out of it before you charge. right?
I don't know.
So like.
We've only
I
had
mean,
gas.
speaking from experience, I worked at a course that had electric carts the whole time, and you could get multiple rounds out of an electric cart before it needs to be charged, and at that point, it's getting dark, and you got
Now,
like
is that a
12
high
hours.
volume place or is that a country club?
It was New Bedford Country Club, but
Yeah.
like we had, sometimes there were double rounds, people going out twice.
Every day is
Yeah.
a double, 2.5 turns is what those cots see. 2
Yeah.
rounds of golf and a league round.
Should
Yeah, I
we
mean-
start with the building, considering that they're gonna put the carts under it?
So I think we asked the question first, is there an appetite to protect the golf carts?
Yes.
So that's, if that's an emphatic yes, then we can start there. I think what we should do is take the current footprint of where the carts are and where the trailer is, and design a building, 2 buildings around that, and start there. And then we can, best case, design a building where the putting green is, and realize that there are extra costs associated with taking that putting green out of service, having all the opportunities for plumbing and septic and all those things, and then rebuilding a putting green is going to add costs, and putting greens aren't cheap to build, especially one of that magnitude.
That will
That's a
be in
big one.
our budget as well, though. We're not gonna put that on you or Steve. The budget to build a new putting green
Correct.
should be involved with
Yes,
this
this
project,
project.
which is
I think what the golf
probably gonna
committee's
cost about
mindset was,
$80,000.
as
That
we,
was the number.
as we do this relocation of building and cots, to use the previous locations of the current building and the current cots to kind of facilitate a new and improved practice area for the customers to come and enjoy. So now, if you only have an hour of daylight left and you can't get in around the golf, well, you can come down and chip around and hit out of a practice bunker and use a driving range and use a new putting green. Everything will be
Putting green
positioned.
is near the tent now, we're in that vicinity, and we use the old pen for practice area.
Mhm.
It's all in the driving range area.
Correct.
It's all in that
Everything
neighborhood.
will be on that side.
You don't go from this end to that end.
Correct.
And the trick about getting these golf carts in this building is how we're going in, how we're going out.
Correct.
That's,
Yeah.
And we're back to the elevation too, so you almost have to
I
get
understand
there,
that.
look at
That's
the
where you
site
gotta get
work.
the excavator guy there, you know, and an architect like that, someone with expertise on that.
That's definitely beyond
And the
my
price-
capabilities.
And the price, right, me too. And the price of a metal building could be anywhere from 80 to 100,000 for a nice metal building. That money could go right towards whatever it's gonna cost to put this underground.
Mhm.
Can we go back for a second just to talk about like the finances of, so I know it's pretty clear to me, and I know there's a lot of people in the town that are not golfers that don't even support the course.
Right.
So I think if this comes to the town meeting and we're asking for a significant amount of money, that could get some backlash and get voted down, and then we're kind of have to start from square one again. So, I know you mentioned, and I'm kind of aware of this, but I don't know the exact numbers, there's a note on the course, right? And in 2 years from now, that's paid off.
Correct.
And what is the amount that's being paid every year to pay off that note?
Right now, it's at about 350,000 is the
Okay.
current, the bond, one annual bond payment for up until 2027. And then I think that last bond payment is like $40,000
Right,
on,
that's exactly.
So what, like
2020.
740,000 is left on it, is that?
Yes,
Sounds-
yes, yeah,
sounds about right.
700 to 700.
And then we have
Right.
about, we haven't had the cash certified because we haven't had the
Right.
staffing for it. But I believe there's 1.4 or 1.5 million in the enterprise fund. So again, taxpayers should know, these funds are what's going to support this project.
So there's 1.4 on top of what's being paid?
I even heard more.
Probably, yeah. I mean, we're gonna make some money this year.
1.85 right now. About
That's correct,
1.85.
Yeah.
One point
So-
in the fund.
So that's in excess of what's being paid towards that note, right? That
Correct.
right,
Correct.
yeah.
Right.
So do you have a figure of how much like average the golf course makes in profit on a yearly basis?
It's dependent of, you know, the season and weather, but right now, we're operating with about $300,000 in profit. And then you have your $350,000 in the payment. So once the payment is gone,
So
you should be in the vicinity of
600,000 a
600,000.
year. Okay.
And that's with the limited to no amenities as opposed to building something where, you know, now you can kind of take advantage and get some halo sales. You can sell some more products, hats,
Right. Oh,
gloves.
sure, yeah.
I mean, you know, when people hang around and have a few beers,
Yeah,
they
I-
decide, hey, I like that hat.
I just think-
I'm gonna buy that hat on
Yeah.
the way out.
I just think it's important to propose, in the way it's proposed to the town, how much revenue these new things this project will create. It'll create that much more revenue and how it can be paid for. I just think that transparency will go a long way
Absolutely.
with getting it approved.
We've communicated this as clearly and as transparent as we could over the last 20 years, 24 years. But it's been a struggle getting to this point.
Yeah.
But there's still people that aren't aware that we are self-sufficient and
Right.
all of our,
Yeah.
everything that we spend to produce the product down there is funded through the revenues that we generate.
Well, that's the purpose of an enterprise fund.
Yes.
That's a big
Yeah,
plus.
in the town.
It's huge.
Is
And
that-
and the National Golf Foundation, in their study stated, we're in the top 33% of the country for municipal operations. There's not a lot of golf courses that can pull this off. And Steve and myself, we have an excellent team of guys.
Yeah, go, no, definitely. No, I just thought, I was not aware of all that, so I appreciate the information. And I think, like I said, I think having conversations with other people in the town, it'll be good to know that way we can pass that information on to them and, you
Is
know.
the enterprise fund, would that be part of our budget?
I'm not sure how they plan on using that. I don't know
I
if you
thought a
spoke.
portion of it was going to be.
I think they would like to.
What's that now?
Utilizing some of the enterprise fund to afford payment for this project.
Well, I would assume.
It would-
yeah.
it would be not smart to not do that. I mean, why would we take, taxpayers' money, extra taxpayer money? and
Well,
get
we're not
money
talking
from
about
There's no
that?
taxpayers.
No,
You would bond it. You would bond it,
You would
and then you would
borrow
obviously have to
money.
pay interest
Right.
on that bond.
Right.
But it would be wise to use a good portion of a piece of what you got, depending on what they feel comfortable with, and then maybe bond some of
Right.
it too.
You mean like take $1 million out of it, just
Exactly.
round it up, if
Yeah.
it's $2 million, taking half of it, putting it toward the building of the clubhouse, and then finance the rest,
Right.
which is paid for by the enterprise fund every year.
So if you're making 600,000, it's not
Yeah.
gonna take long to
Sure.
pay off.
And don't forget, the note that we're paying off now is for the entire golf course.
Yeah, you own it.
Yeah.
That's
Which is
it.
not just-
Mortgage is
not-
paid.
Not for a building, so
Mhm.
the yearly payment, I'm guessing, will be much less than $350,000 a year.
Right.
Just trying to wrap our arms around
Sure.
that. So the revenue
Well,
stream,
the new note.
the new note would be, because the golf course was millions of dollars.
Right.
Even though it was 30 years ago, give or take, but
Mhm.
a new note would be more like a building mortgage.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just for conversation purposes, we have no idea if it's 2 million or 2.5 million, that's not gonna be a $350,000 a year
Right.
payment.
Right.
So your 600 that you're estimating, and I'm rounding up and down,
Yeah.
but that's really gonna be 400 still, because your 200,000 a year is your mortgage. I'm making
Right,
up
yeah.
numbers. And I don't wanna get too deep into numbers, but I think we should establish some sort of array of budgets, an array of designs, so that when we go to the architect, and we should probably get with the architect sooner rather than later to talk
Yeah,
about,
absolutely.
after a few iterations of designs.
Mhm.
So what we look at in a sense, with these, let's say 3 designs, and it could be more. could be
I wouldn't go many more because,
Yeah.
No, but I think 3 is a
You
good
know what I'm saying, if you
spot, right?
do 3,
yeah.
are we looking at in a sense of à la carte, like,
Put it in
there's
double
3 different designs, 3 different price ranges,
maybe.
and then the powers to be can figure out which one they're most comfortable with going forward with.
Right, because it ultimately comes down to the select board. And you talk about getting with the people and everything, you know, I got the impression that they're 100% behind it.
Mhm.
Well, 3 select board members, and, you know, so that's gonna be huge in our favor,
Mhm.
is having that support to get it out there.
Do we even want to know what the number is? Does anybody have an idea?
I know it's less than 5 million,
Yeah.
a lot less
Yeah,
than
I'd
5 million.
say less than
The
5
whole
million.
project, you're saying?
But,
Yeah, I mean, we're having anecdotal conversations with the select board before this committee started. It's like, we don't want the appetite of a $5 million note, so
Right. So
if
it's
I
going
was,
to be 4 or less, or under 4.
Yeah.
right.
I would probably go like 3 or less.
Half, 3.
Yeah. And we can probably run some numbers,
Sure.
right, to see what a mortgage
What
would be
will
like.
that get you?
What will that payment be relative to what your revenues are?
Mhm.
Especially if we have some dough in the beginning to put down from the enterprise fund we mentioned earlier, maybe it's a $2 million note. I think in everyone's best interest is to give you something to work with better than what you have,
Right.
and then, and that's gonna sell to the town for.
Well, that's what I was
And
just
not,
gonna say.
and we should be clear that we shouldn't say taxpayer money, because it's not
Yeah,
coming from
that
taxpayers.
was my mistake.
That's okay.
The other thing you have to consider too is, and that this is a positive going towards it, is that note can be paid out that much quicker when this project is done and they're creating revenue, extra revenue from food and beverage and everything else. Like, you're gonna probably make way more than what that $600,000 current
You're also gonna have
amount
more
is.
staff.
Yes, that'll eat up some of it.
Some of it, but I mean, if it's run correctly, you're still gonna be
Yeah.
making more money off, you know.
Right, and that profit will increase.
So when it comes to it, what is the biggest need for the golf course as far as designing a building? Is it an indoor space, an outdoor space?
So in the vision of this committee, I guess that would be maybe one of the concepts. Do we do one with an outdoor?
You gave some stats to me when we were talking about number of people.
Yes.
Number of people that sit outside, and, you know, we talked about, and all of us have been at other golf courses, right?
Yeah.
And if you, after you're done playing, or before you're done playing, whether you're having a beer or your cup of coffee in the morning, it's nice to sit inside and kinda,
Yeah, especially if it's hot, you're at 95 degrees, you just spent 4.5
You wanna
hours
sit
playing
outside
golf.
under a tent.
You definitely, I mean, our guys do it.
because they have no choice.
They have no choice.
No choice.
But the best part of their round is dunking their hand in that bucket to get cold beer and then wiping it on their forehead because they're dying. But
It's a little dramatic.
it's,
I'm just
I'm
kidding.
telling you.
But
I-
you
I
don't
see
have
these
outside.
guys.
You get outside.
So I was going through my outings and we do to about 2,400 plus shotgun events, 100 plus players. And then we do about 43 of 20 to 90 player events for a total of 5,500 rounds of outings. And that's from the player count of 20 or more. We still see groups of 8, 12, and 16, but I didn't include them in this count. So you're doing 5,500 rounds of potential food customers that are coming in groups of 16 to 144. So I mean, if you can get each of those 5,500 players to come down and have a hamburger, french fry, and a beer, you're looking at a lot more money than we're making right now.
So at Resi,
And that's just the events. That's not even the other 32,000 rounds that are coming through.
at Resi, with the events we host there, we have a deck that's got a nice view of the ocean, kind of like you were talking about, a sunset view, but there's people that stay outside, there's people that come inside. There's a small function hall that can hold about 80 people, so if you had a large event, you could have people inside. And it's, the square footage isn't, I mean, have you guys all been to Resi? It's not a giant clubhouse, but like a majority of a day, an average garden variety day there is, you know, guys finish their round, they go in there and they have a few beers at the bar area. I think, let's establish, do we need a bar? I think, yeah. I think to do it right, a bar is required. And then, is there a spillover inside and outside? Rather than focusing on all people under a tent or an outside space, how about a mix of it?
Yes.
So I think a mix of absolutely. I think there's people that like actually sitting outside.
Yes.
There's people that like going into the air conditioning after they're done. Sometimes it's nice too. You've seen plenty of clubhouses with they have outdoor. It's like a deck that goes outside from the indoor space of eating in the clubhouse outside, and it's like almost like a covered.
Pavilion.
Yeah, it's covered so that way in case it's raining, you can still sit outside and
Right.
you know.
Well, I'm sure having an indoor area really extends the golf season.
Sure.
You know, like
Yeah.
having that where you're not like, oh, I'm freezing them out of here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
which happens, right?
Yeah.
Mid-November or early November, even
Yeah.
October sometimes when
Yeah.
the leagues are winding down, guys are like, hey, see you next week, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Out the door.
Right.
Oh yeah, and even the leagues, I'm in the league, so
Mhm.
you see the league after, it's dudes hanging out in the parking lot.
Yes.
You know, it's not people even under the tent for the most part, they're hanging around their cars
Mhm.
and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, is there anybody that doesn't think there should be indoor and outdoor sitting space?
I think that would,
If that's the case.
Both.
It's a good way to.
Yeah.
I mean, as it is now, right, you have a trailer and you have a deck. I call it the crow's nest, because guys, it sits up a little higher. there are guys that are drawn to that up, up position to oversee everything. Some people like the metal tables outside of the tent, and then some people just don't wanna even be near the sun.
The deck
They
of
wanna
Resi
sit
is elevated and you can see the entire golf course from there.
So
A lot of
like you
people
say,
sit out there.
each place that you creates an atmosphere that'll have a customer that'll be drawn to that type of space, and utilize it.
That would
She was
create,
gonna ask a question. She didn't have her
I
hand
just
up.
wanted to, I don't mean to interrupt, but I worked at a country club and I feel like it was the greatest disadvantage that they didn't have a seamless indoor to outdoor space. Because they only had a bar indoors, which made you feel like you either had to pick one or the other.
Right.
And it was really difficult, like as someone who worked there, trying to get the drinks to the or not the residents, but the members that were there.
That was at the Bay
So,
Club, right?
It was, yeah. So it was beautiful, but they didn't make it fluid enough.
Right.
Even they had like bench seating that was like booth style, but it was difficult because if you had an event in there, you were only limited to that very small, semi-open space they had toward like the back of the building. So I think that if you have an area that you can have tables and chairs that you can move and customize it to whatever people want to use the space for, it's important too.
Dave, a
So-
question for you. What are your customers telling you what they're looking for? Because really, that's what's gonna drive this whole design.
Yeah, I mean, well, essentially, having what we have now, they say, hey, we'd love, what are you guys gonna build a bar and have some TVs and some air conditioning?
Okay.
So we can sit
So they
down.
want a place to relax after
Just
they
want
play,
to,
unwind.
yeah, someplace to sit comfortably
Okay.
and have a decent bite to eat.
I mean, that's
I mean,
been my 40 years of playing golf, that's what I do.
Yeah,
Finish my round, go inside.
Isn't it- it's almost a given.
Like on the 19th
If
hole.
I suck at golf, I wanna have fun
That's-
having a drink and a beer.
exactly, right.
so you could bring in if you did that, inside, outside deck even, now you've got the foundation, now you're elevated building, which is kind of perfect for that area because the elevation there goes down from the existing area now.
Yes,
You can have access to both sides, because now you've got a foundation,
Perfect.
inside space, and even like, that one that I showed you, they had the inside space and then garage doors that opened up.
yes, I was gonna say, there's multiple ways that you can do that. You can use garage doors, you can do the sliding barn doors, you can use the clear glass ones that slide and kind of like connect with one another as they go, they kind of fold in, so,
And that's coming from the room.
yes.
Yes, a
So
bar,
the other thing is,
restaurant, yeah.
so this room, besides the pro shop, the kitchen, the men's room, the ladies' room,
You're gonna have that open space.
is this space here to accommodate weddings?
I'm not sure they're going in that
Baby
direction.
showers. Wedding showers?
My personal opinion,
Small things?
Small.
if you have like these, so that's another business altogether,
I
right?
agree.
It's a
I
hospitality
agree.
business.
And I
So
don't,
small stuff, I think would be.
Rich,
I'm into the
Rich,
baby
Rich,
shower, I'm into the little thing with his, 30,
Right.
40 people in there.
I don't think we wanna do the 200, 500 person
Yeah.
wedding.
Oh, no, no.
The guy's trying to play golf and like, hey,
You-
everybody,
you-
the whole wedding party wants to get a picture on the
You
playground.
you run into parking issues too,
And-
there's already
agree.
kind of, the parking lot's already pretty full with just golfers.
No,
Yes,
no,
facts.
like, big wedding things.
Correct.
I think we're all on
I
the same
think-
page on
I
that.
think the way that it was first communicated was this was supposed to serve as a service center for your golfers.
For the golfers, and
And
I'm,
when you have your outings, you have 140, you have
Yes.
a fair amount of people.
Mhm.
So you also have to be prepared that these individuals are gonna stay 100% inside because
Yeah.
it might be drizzling when they get
Well,
done.
that's a key point. Not all of them are, as I stated, you got 24 that are 100 plus.
So this
How many of them stay at the
facility,
course out of those 24?
Right now, because you have limited options. I mean, previously, and I said, that I was telling Rich this, previously we would do an in-house steak dinner. Prior, to,
I remember that,
COVID,
yeah,
right? We
yeah,
did
yeah,
steak
yeah,
dinners
yeah,
all the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Oktoberfest was
Right.
steak dinner, but then steak went through the roof. And we couldn't make any money, and people weren't gonna pay $40 for a steak dinner.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing the steak dinner. What ended up happening after that is it became kind of, the new trend was the meal tickets. So guys would come in and it was more affordable and more customizable. We wanna spend $16 food and beverage while our outings here. We're not gonna do a dinner, so what can you do for us? All right, well, we can do a chip, a hamburger, a hot dog, a soft drink, and whatever it is, here's your meal ticket. They turn it in as they play, and they pick up the food and beverage while they're going. And then what we also did is we did some catered meals these last couple of years that have been quite successful. But even, it's my understanding too, that even places that have kitchens, the back nine, they cater out a lot of their functions. They don't have a crew come in
Yeah.
and
Well,
in-house.
that makes
do it.
sense, because you'd have to have a kitchen
Yeah.
of a certain size to be able to put it all out at the same time.
Hey,
Right,
the
small
trucks
grill.
come in,
Yeah.
Stove,
they drop the
oven, yeah.
food, they serve the
smaller than this
food,
room.
they clean it, they put it back in the truck, and they leave. And we still get all the booze, and the way that I ran it last year is I put on a sitting fee on each meal. So if you came with 144, we were making X amount a head, which was actually far exceeded what we were making on the steak dinners. So it worked out beneficial to us. That
But you
program
still
as well.
want some type of a grill room or a kitchen
Oh,
to
sure.
accommodate
Yes.
the hamburger,
Yep,
the sausages.
So that's a feature, right, as part of your agenda, right?
Well, right, that's what we're trying to get around to, you know, we're all bringing up a lot of
That's why I asked,
diverging points,
the
but,
need is there.
but,
Dan.
you
Yes.
know, I would think next
The
week
need is there.
we
A
can.
space big enough to have a 144-person golf tournament.
well, you're gonna have to anticipate that you will have moments when you have 144 plus people there. So you got, I mean, I'm not saying you gotta build it so that everybody can fit in that one building, but if you create enough space, because I was explaining, as it is now, we use the tent for those groups like the Fabian group that come at 200, they use the entire tent. They use the entire, all those steel tables out by the cafe, right down by the grill. And they also use all the decking, all the seats up in there. So that whole area is utilized, and that's gonna happen at least 10 to 15 times a season. And with
Potentially more.
potentially more when you build it. You're gonna have guys say, you know what, why do I wanna drive all the way over to this place and do a meal when we can just stay here? And I did say a lot of our Portuguese events, naturally, they do a festival style out of their club. So a lot of those guys don't stay. They play golf, they pack up and they roll, and then, you know, they have bifanas and all kinds of crazy Portuguese wine and whatnot.
Well, the question I have is how big do you want to build this for those events? And what's going to happen to this building the other times that there aren't people there?
Well, this is
To
why I'm
accommodate
when we say-
144 people. So,
No, yeah, I'm not saying
you
the
know,
building needs to be 144, but you have to have enough space to accommodate an indoor and an open outdoor section so that it can bleed out. If we're serving food, people walk in the building, go to the catering table, pick up their food, and then they spread out and disperse amongst your entire living space, inside and outside, preferably a covered outside.
Yeah, and ideally attached, right?
And attached.
You know, walking through.
Right.
Dana, question for you.
You know, even if.
Are you looking to attract non-golfers to come on a Friday night with your buddies?
Again, I don't think that is a priority,
Yeah.
but I don't think that they're shying away from it. I think that if
Pro shop.
that was to occur,
Yeah.
and you were playing with a foursome, and somebody that you know in town is gonna meet up with you, sure, you can walk, I mean, we're like a public park. You can walk in, sit at the bar, grab a beer, and they text you, you go, hey, I'm on 18, I'll be done in 10 minutes.
Because I have heard from people in town who said, oh, that would be a nice place to go on a Friday night. With
Sure.
my husband, you know, have a drink or something. On the way out or
So, a
whatever.
lot of people that play at Resi are
Yeah.
not members.
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, there are people that go into the bar, that patronize the bar in the evenings.
Yeah.
They're not members, they're wives, they're friends.
Yeah,
I mean, a
Right.
lot of that
Not
it's a
happens.
community.
We actually sell a social membership at
Yeah,
Reservation,
yeah.
but a lot of people, like, there's no rule. There's no, if you don't have a membership, you can't come in.
Right.
They just revenue at the bar.
Because my question is getting to Adam's point before about when this goes to the town vote. If you could say to people, hey, you know what's a place if you want to come on a Friday night with your wife to grab a drink or something?
Sure.
That may say to the guy or people that are voting on this, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. As opposed to, I'm not a golfer, what do I care about this?
Right.
Just an idea.
Especially if there's no function, right?
Right.
If there's not a function, but a big tournament,
Right.
Friday evening,
Right?
or any evening.
Somebody wants to go
You
for
even have stuff like light stuff, nachos, cheese, or
Sure.
just
Easy
silly
pub
things.
You know,
Yeah.
You know.
you said
that-
something to me yesterday that resonated with me, I thought about it. You said that this golf course provides business to all of the local businesses. And even the breakfast place up the street, Rochelle's, has a golfer's menu, a golfer's special, yeah, exactly. And, you know, and I go down to the Blue once in a while, I'll have a beer at the Blue Lantern and play Keno, and I see guys coming from ARV,
Yeah.
going in there to have.
When I leave and lock up, for the night. After some of the league nights, I look in the Blue Lanterns parking lot, and it's half of the carts are the guys that were in the league that just finished playing.
I think what made me think about that after you said that was that there's a revenue stream there that you can't get right now.
Right.
You will get down the road.
Yes.
You can't predict what it's gonna be,
Correct.
but you can say, I know it's there.
Ponderosa too.
Mondo, yeah, we said that.
Glenn and I were up there, they closed on Monday, so we didn't go. What do you need for a clubhouse space? That's the other thing, you gotta realize.
Well, as I stated prior to, was I think you start with the
Or pro
foundation.
shop, I mean.
If pro shop wise, I mean, I think right now we're running about 24 feet by 24 feet. And the way I merchandise everything is basically on the walls. I leave the interior, because it's a tight space. So I don't put columns of products and t-shirts and shirts in the open space. I leave enough space so guys can kind of check in and check out clean and easy. And then if they want to peruse, we basically serve impulse sales. So we're selling hats, gloves, shoes, and balls, right? So, but if you have enough
And that's
space,
probably all you really need to,
Right.
I can't imagine, people aren't coming in to look for
Around
shirts and pants and
around the holidays,
shoes and-
guys will come to look, see if they have something with a cushioning on it. But, I mean, we could sell some mid-layer stuff, some windbreakers and stuff like that. If you had a little bit more space, it's kind of jammed up pretty tight. You make decent margin on hats, and a lot of the clubs that I go to have a multitude of hats for selection, because it's an easy grab. The guys for some
I
reason
like hats.
have hat fetishes, man.
I like
You
hats.
just love hats.
It would be good to have it.
I know, 'cause I
way
gotta
in
buy
and a way out too. Now you have one way in,
Right.
no way out.
And
A lot of
Yes.
the courses I played at, even some of the nicer places, the pro shops aren't that big.
Yeah.
Right?
Right,
It's a place to
They
take.
usually have, like,
you got
stands
clubs.
with shirts on it or something, like little tripods here and
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And usually they're kind of tight, like you're walking through them, you're like, oh, I gotta walk
Yeah.
around these things.
Old Boston,
Well, they want you to see 'em, too.
everything is like jammed up right on the pathway to the desk, and then out, well, all this stuff is like right there on you.
And the town course handles it differently. Isaac doesn't get a cut.
Right, no,
In a private club, you got the pro.
the
And
pro
is
gets
running
the profits.
the show, he gets right, he gets the profits from the sales, a certain percentage.
It's up to that usually, like, the
well, some
country club,
clubs give it
the
to the
the pro
director
is
of
the
golf.
one in charge of ordering clothing.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
they price it and they make the profits off of it based off what they price
Right.
it, but.
But that's usually a private club where you know, most guys gonna
Right.
spend a few bucks, they can put it towards clothes. They can-
Dana, as a percentage of your total revenue, pro shop is how much?
I have to pull that number, but it's not big.
Less than
I think
10%?
I think my budget is like 60,000 for actually might be close to 50,000 for
Inventory.
pro shop.
Yeah.
So you make Keystone, so you're trying to hit 100 on it.
So as part of your overall structure, this isn't gonna be something that's gonna expand greatly to take up a lot of it. in a sense.
No, but again,
No, but
you're gonna.
I think it could look pretty neat though.
Yes.
We can make
The
it look
more
really
bodies you have
nice.
coming through,
Yeah.
eating and drinking, the
Once you
more
have a nice
opportunity
facility,
you're gonna
people will
have.
buy stuff with
Yeah.
that.
Do you think the space you have is
You
enough
know.
right now? And that we could make it nicer, to your point? Is that enough space?
Yeah, that's the
You can make it more
perfect question.
efficient.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's workable.
Because if
So
you,
let's iterate on that, right? Let's get the exact measurements of your shop now. And then go maybe a little bit bigger and maybe even a little bit bigger and see how it squeezes in. We gotta give the architects something to work with.
right,
Well, that's what I was gonna say, like, as far as like delivering the architect stuff, I don't think we should wait until May 23rd to deliver. I think we get our first needs and we get that guy working, because he's not gonna work until we give him something to go with,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's not gonna wait till the day before and say, have this
I
done.
agree
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think.
I just did a project at work, and that's how we did it. We
Yeah.
actually had the architects sitting on
Yeah.
our weekly, OA, we call it owner architect, OAC meeting, so that they were there, sitting there
Yeah.
listening, right? And we don't have to go to that extreme, but we gotta get going, we gotta
Yeah.
understand, you know, what are the laboratories gonna look like?
Yeah.
What are we gonna have for a pro shop? What's the grill shape gonna look like? What's the bar size gonna look like?
Right. So yeah, I wouldn't need any more space for a pro shop. You could work with what you've got, with what we have.
I mean, it would help if it wasn't 8-foot ceilings, you know, if it felt a little bigger,
Yes.
you know,
Right.
stuff like
Little
that.
breathing space.
So you don't look at expanding your product? You're gonna
You-
keep selling what you got, you
If,
don't wanna
if
go
you
clubs,
had
you don't
additional
wanna
space,
go.
if you had
Right.
additional space, you could put it in a pro shop, and the only reason why I would say that, is because your pro shop is an opportunity for revenues, right? So if you have a foyer and it's X amount of feet and there's nothing in it, well, if you're gonna add extra footage, you put it in a spot that can give you some money. So you either put it in your food and beverage operation, or you're gonna put it in your pro shop to get additional sales. So, but going based on what we've got, you wouldn't need any more than what we currently have. I just checked the numbers, we do about 40,000 in sales
Okay.
in the pro shop.
And right now, you got beverage coolers in there.
Yes.
Because of the way it's set up.
Correct.
So like, there's
I-
stuff in there that
This is
should
That
be.
wouldn't be there.
Right,
Yes.
right,
Yeah,
that
Yeah, I
would
have
need to
three
be in there
three
once we get rid of it.
refrigerators.
So in a sense, by taking those out, you end up with more space.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Do we want to
Very
visit,
good point.
I know somebody said in the first meeting, do we want to visit places, I mean,
Yes.
to, you
I
know,
would.
Get a feel for it.
I
this
would
is the
definitely
layout
like
of
that.
Sutter's Marsh and the size of everything.
Nice.
I have no plans for that building.
Do you also have the drive range one too, or just the?
No.
Oh.
This is the layout of the building itself, bathrooms,
Perfect.
the pro shop, the kitchen, the office, and everything.
That would be great if you could hand that out to these guys and they could take a peek at it, because
Yeah.
I've
John
been
and
to
I,
Suther's Marsh hundreds of times,
Yeah.
I get it, I like that place, I like
Yes.
the layout. They also have some outside seating, which has a little cover to it.
Right.
I know that they wish they had made it bigger in the basement,
Yeah.
but, I mean, that's a separate,
right, and their track is a little bit smaller than ours, but if we could increase the outdoor space, on that type of format, that would kind of work out well for us.
Just want to see what the square footage is.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that question.
This is the pro shop right now, it looks like it's 14 by 17.
Yeah.
That's extremely small.
It is,
And
it's
how
tiny.
big- how big is it?
Mine's about 24 by 24,
Their
but
pro
I'd say a
shop
third of
is-
it.
that might be the smallest one.
Yeah, it is, it's a
This one's
closet.
very small.
So we have about
And
80
it's wide open, like,
80 by 40, so it's 32.
because they have an office in there, right next to it.
Yes.
The office is to
Office
the
and
right.
bathroom.
Yep.
This is the one
Women's
floor?
room, men's room,
Yep.
stairway downstairs to the basement, there's a mechanical room, I have all the plans. And this is the kitchen layout, and this is a bar right here,
Yes.
facing the function room.
Yes.
This is your function room right here, or whatever we're gonna
Yes,
call it.
yeah.
They call it a dining.
No, it is.
Okay, dining room.
It's
I think it's a
3,200, so that's within what we're talking about. here.
Right.
It's 80 by 40, so it's 3,200 square feet.
What's that? Is that the
Looks like a covered roof, maybe?
outdoor deck?
This is
It's a deck,
Yeah.
for sure.
But see, but
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah, so you gotta figure
Well,
both spaces
There's
though.
a flow to it too, like, you know,
Mhm.
like what we were talking about.
And they have the roll-out glass doors.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome,
Yep.
yeah.
So-
So for
Right.
weather permitting.
Weather
it's-
permitting, you
yeah.
open it right up, you
Yeah.
have one event.
I don't know if they
all
really have a
together.
fireplace, I don't think we need to entertain a fireplace.
Yeah, we
Because,
don't need a hazard.
yeah, exactly.
No.
Now-
Hey, our current place could use a fire.
I tell you what though, we put a gas-fired one in Resi and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But we also already had a stone facing fireplace that we just converted to a
And that, I was
gas.
gonna ask that, we don't have gas access down there, if
No,
I'm not
Is that over
mistaken.
here, too?
It's,
you'd have the propane.
Propane.
yeah, Steve has propane for his building, and we're all electric,
Yeah, there's no
so.
natural gas down there. We don't need a fireplace.
And the other thing is how, you know, if you, again, the putting green, how do you incorporate this? If you're gonna try to build a deck and face down 18, which sounds wonderful, and a slight wraparound deck facing 1, that facing 18,
Yeah, but you don't have to have the setup like Resi where the clubhouse overlooks the putting green. The putting green can be in front or on the side of the property. on
oh,
the side
I
of
know,
the-
I don't want this to look
Yeah.
like putting green. I'm
He
saying
was saying the fairways.
this is on the putting green.
Yes,
I would like to see a
Gotcha.
deck shooting down 18.
yes. Listen, I gotta be honest, the
Good
more
idea.
deck, whether you make it out of
So the
cement,
square footage there, the
or-
only difference
or
is you
wood,
gotta
or
realize
tracks,
the
or
outside.
brick, all around that building,
We
the
don't
more
care
space
about
you have
square
for people
Well,
to
they can
be
shrink
with
this.
chairs and
Right,
eat
but
and drink,
we don't have to
gives
follow
them an
any kind of
opportunity.
code.
And then if there is an
60,000,
overflow from a
no,
large
without the
event,
variance.
Yeah,
it
but
gives
it's a town property.
a lead out.
I think that would look nice and
Having other conversations with
they
Sure.
make that.
folks in town
Concrete one.
that
Mhm.
they instructed us early,
Just like Bluestone.
instructed me not to worry about the square footage.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they said.
And
We
then
don't
once you
want
put that down,
10,000
it's-
square feet,
it's down.
but they said,
I think we can get,
Right,
a variance
you
I
have
would imagine would get approved if
Well, the
we're
variance
over.
goes to the town.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Right.
we want-
And you're not gonna have any neighbors that be like, I'm against
there's
it.
no neighbor
Right.
injunction, it's not like it's probably land disputes or anything like that,
I'm on
so.
board with that.
So as soon as we get that, we can go bigger than,
That's
what
the
is
other
it,
thing.
3,000 that
That's
they
the
said?
6 by 72, and that's 440 by,
Right. I mean,
it's
I
a little
think
bit
this
bigger.
sheet.
Yeah.
And to Richard's point, it's about the budget in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is,
Yeah, it's a
how important is it for a bathroom,
I'm glad you said going.
I don't wanna say outside, but
Yeah,
kind of
I
at a
think it's,
lower level, a little bit more,
Yeah.
it's
like
easy.
under the deck,
I think
maybe
a
there's a.
golfer during his round
Right.
needs like,
Men's
Yes.
and the ladies'
you don't wanna
room,
be dragging the
you know,
dirt
because
and
you're gonna
stuff
have
through your
closer to
clubhouse
here
every
on,
time.
this is all gonna be carpet.
That was actually one of my notes, is I would like to see an outdoor bathroom access. And I don't know if you connect it, if it's too much money, if you connect it to the current bathroom, but the outdoor access improves the interior perceptions for the customers coming in. You don't have clumps of grass
Yeah.
all over the place. I mean, we vacuum
So-
4 times a day in that place.
if it's not a budgetary issue, I would not put carpet down.
No,
No, no.
We did it at my course, and it's a mess, and it just, fixing it all the time. This linear, LVT tile that is bulletproof, it lasts forever.
roll out rugs.
That's
And,
fine.
and you can put rugs at the door, and you take them outside, shake them out, and have a
Yeah.
service come in and change them out.
I mean, guys are gonna be wearing their spikes,
Yeah,
they're gonna be tearing up
yeah,
carpet,
yeah.
you know, that's just the way it
How long
goes.
does the carpet last?
It doesn't.
5 years?
I mean, the high traffic areas just get beat up. We ended up buying a bunch of
That's
extra
true.
squares, you know.
I
just-
actually have roll-out rugs on top of our carpets because they're so beat
I'll
up,
beat them up,
so.
chill 'em
You saw what we have at my new property at Titleist. We put a beautiful tile down, but we put the little carpets that Universe comes in and swaps out for us.
Yeah.
At some meetings, I don't remember exactly what that is, but
and the tile still looks really good.
it looks amazing.
There you go, that's all.
We had groups in there, 150 people, 3 or 4 times in a week, and nothing, you wouldn't tell there was anybody in there.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
How, would it be like advantageous to, as a group, go to some of these courses and look at some of the designs? And I guess to piggyback on that, how would we do that and not be in violation of open meeting laws?
Well, you couldn't go
Well,
as a
that's-
group, you'd have to go as
No.
less than a quorum, right?
So,
No, you can,
Yeah,
we
you can go
can
as a
go as a
group.
group, and we can't negotiate out, or, or,
Observation.
You can just look
Fact
at
we
it.
can look at it, like the conservation committee all goes out to look at the site, but they don't deliberate on it, that's what I'm
Gotcha.
looking
It's
for.
fact.
We
Take
can-
Well, we
no,
can
no.
collaborate and say, you know, look how they got this one here, we, you know.
We can take photos if someone's
Yeah,
out
you
where
just
they
can't
are.
take
and do it.
votes, right, basically.
Right, you
Yeah.
can, right, deliberate, you
Yeah.
can't deliberate, you
Yeah.
go, this is.
so I was
you know.
wondering if it'd be worth setting up some meetings at some of these courses, if they'd be willing to have us.
Oh, they
just-
would,
and Just
definitely.
picking their brain and asking and looking at some
Right.
different,
I know the woman that manages Suther's Marsh. I can ask her. And you guys are always welcome at Resi to come look at what we have if you feel that there's some value. And those two are easy to do.
Mhm.
They would have no problem with us walking through there. We're not in competition with either one of those places.
Your approach, your is small as well.
Yeah,
Where you
approach.
guys go pay, you know?
Yeah, it's probably the size of this room.
Yeah.
And then with a little
Yeah.
closet that collects the most junk known to man. Yeah, I think a visit to other places, maybe I could get us in at LeBaron too. We could walk through LeBaron, even though, that's probably bigger than what we need. It's-
Right.
There's a pro shop, there's
There's
a,
2 function rooms.
there's function room, I
There's-
mean, it's a different
Their
place.
bar is big and, yeah, there's a lot of sitting in their bar area as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
I mean, I had breakfast there at a tournament this year, the
Yeah.
dining area, it's pretty big. Those are-
Picture of this one.
The other thing is, like, I know there's a bar here, I don't know if there's a few stools here.
There are.
There's not many, I think it's like 4 or 5.
At least-
I did a picture of Southern Marsh.
That's on the Marsh?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, there you go.
That's
that's
it's
it.
a great little clubhouse.
Yeah, it is a
And they
nice spot.
pump golf out there too. It's
Oh, yeah, they do.
it's a different golf course.
Is
They
this
pump them out.
too long of a journey? If, in the middle of the summer, all your guys are gonna be out on the deck,
Yeah,
I would think.
probably.
You know,
Well, it
maybe-
depends, right? If it's real hot,
Let's
they're
look
gonna
for
grab
air
some
conditioning,
air
actually,
conditioning.
on a hot day.
Depends what time.
You won't see me on the deck.
One bar, you
Yeah.
don't incorporate
I think it's still gonna
outdoor,
be-
I mean, we're just
I
opening
think
up
it's
a.
still gonna need to be
It's easy.
on that.
It's a fairly good sized space, I'm trying to figure out.
We
where
have
to go.
servers too that can
Actually,
just, get it from the bar.
So,
right? So
you
that-
know,
I mean, I don't know if that's
45,
a thing that the golf committee would be
Yeah.
thinking of doing, but.
Well,
45 by 20, so 900 square feet.
There's, but,
It's good size out there.
I played a lot of
The bigger
functions
the
there, a lot of outings there rather, and it's a mix. People stay inside, people go outside, and they walk to the bar, and I never hear anybody complaining about it.
Yeah.
It's-
So
it's-
walking from here and then back out with getting your buddies a drink or whatever.
It's not far, because the doors, like Dana was saying, there's a double door here and a double door there. I think there's a couple of double
Yes.
doors here.
6 footers right here.
This is not that far away, yeah, these are double doors. This, it's not a
definitely
journey.
manageable.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, I can't emphasize enough, the more outdoor space you
And that's-
have,
That's covered.
that allows you, you know, you can control the size of the budget of the building you're
Yeah, that's where they
building.
put their
If you
cars
give
in
them
there.
enough space
Right.
outdoors, to recreate.
I think a big constraint for us is gonna be also what's going on under the ground
Is
over
this the deck
there.
that we're looking at?
As far as the irrigation, as far as the septic system, and how
Is this?
that's
wants to be
gonna,
that?
you know, tie into this. Because,
Is
you
it almost
know,
looks
as a
like, see this
go-getter,
here?
that's what kills
It's like-
projects.
Yes.
You
This
know,
might be a roof
like,
line, see the,
They're gonna need a completely septic,
that might be
right?
that roof line, then
I don't know.
We accept it, yes.
Yeah,
And
that deck's
if I'm
up
not
there.
mistaken,
This is a good conversation.
That's a good thing, too.
Good conversation, but
That deck's undercover too. See it?
yes,
And that's this, see this roof line here?
yeah.
So that'll be undercover, and if we eliminate the fireplace and you put another walkout door.
Yes.
This deck.
Yes,
You don't need it covered, you don't need both decks covered.
right.
I mean, that,
See that roof?
Yep,
That's
no,
it.
that's definitely,
And then they got the deck that extends a little bit, so you got some of the cover, some of
and yeah, underneath that deck, that's where they park the cots.
Yeah,
underneath
which was
the-
just saying that. Let's take a
Nice
look at this.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. In a plan that, whatever we come up with, based on what you have now and what you're looking for, are there things in the new plan that you see that could be additional sources of revenue in a sense? That you can expand on that you're not getting now?
Well,
the longer they sit, right?
Right.
Well,
The longer they're
I mean,
there,
just the
and
food and beverage alone is gonna be infinitely more than what they're currently getting.
Idea, you know?
prior to COVID, I would
You-
say
you
we
would
kind
do
of create some other activities to draw people in. But as we are now,
They would have
we're
an
sold
office.
out every day, every tea time.
I think
That's our
that's
business
very
model right now.
Pro shop, too.
So as far as like deviating from core of golf, there really isn't too much more in available parking in excess of what we currently do.
So let me ask you a question. If you build something and you have a pub grub and beers available, and people are staying longer, is that gonna create a problem in the parking lot because people are staying?
It could. There's definitely, you get in there in the afternoon tea time, and it's already kind of tough to
True,
park,
but you know
so
what,
people are
I
staying.
think if we facilitated some lines, it probably would help out,
Yeah.
because a lot of
It
guys.
absolutely will.
Yeah.
That's another question I was
Yes.
gonna ask. Is there appetite to
Yes,
put a
and get rid
big
of the
lot?
islands.
Yeah, there's a big grass islands in that pocket.
You know,
Yes.
If we're
that's
saying
just a
doors.
number. You get a couple asphalt, getting numbers is easy.
Yeah.
And budgets is very easy. Just get some guys down there, take measurements, okay, it's gonna be $62,000
yeah, but
asphalt.
you're still gonna have
Yeah.
Concom to go through with stormwater management plans for paving that big of a surface that are gonna have to be engineered. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
a little bit more budget and a little bit more longer time to
The
get
other
the work
thing
done.
is,
In between that
So-
time span, you could still probably just go and paint on top of the recycled asphalt that was on right now.
which is decent.
Right, you give us one summer for that new layer they just put down and bake in and set. Paint some lines so people can have some kind of guidance, because these guys come in, they park every which
That's
way.
what makes it hard.
The other thing
You could
is,
fit more cars in there if they were,
if
that's what they
people,
put lines in parking lots for, because people are.
if people are gonna be staying here, I know you guys put in long days. 8 o'clock comes, 8:15 comes, you guys are ready to go.
I would, and I think the parameters also were set to, again, this was a service center for golf. This wasn't a,
Nightclub.
2 AM shutdown, last call. It's gonna be
Right.
run on the
That's
same
My only
the
point
principle.
is-
important thing.
Do we
It's gonna
need-
run on the
do we
same,
need parking lot lights?
At some point, you may have
You're
to.
serving, I know you serve alcohol.
Listen,
But-
personally, it's, for me, it's a liability not having lights. So
Yeah.
maybe you put in solar lights, I don't know, but you gotta figure something out because leaving that place is pitch black. When I leave at night, I mean, actually, we installed solar lights on the posts in front of our cars so that when we walk up, motion triggers them on. And I also installed them when we park the carts on the shed and on the pole. So when you drive up on near where we park the carts, both of those lights go on. But without those lights, when it hits this time of day, and I try and tell customers, gate locks at this time, and you got like about 12 minutes past that time, and it's dark. Because in that valley, as soon as that sun breaks the trees, I mean, that's it.
Yep.
Then you hear those coyotes start cackling and,
So my question would be that when we come up with a plan, should we have another list of things to add in, like parking lot, paving, lights?
You can take I just wonder who, that's not town owned, right?
like Dave said, I think
So this much? I
Well,
think it is.
our
that
is
huge
the club house.
Yes, the guys that own the papers on those.
You can almost find out.
You can make a set, professional,
You have to
a
add
suggestion,
30%.
to them.
Yeah.
How much it
Okay.
costs
Right.
to build
A
it.
clubhouse plan, that's what
You could
our
give
mission
these plans to
statement is,
Yeah.
it's right
To
here.
a builder.
And on the
How
development
much
of
it
a
costs to build
golf
that? Yeah.
course facilities
Yeah.
clubhouse
Oh, the
plan.
architect would-
That's it.
Because, you know, I understand, you know, these are all interesting questions and things that might need to be addressed in it. But, and I did put that down, infrastructure,
Mhm.
we talk, I don't know, did you go to the Board of Health and get a plan? of-
Yeah,
of
you
the
have one
layout?
too, right?
Right,
Yeah, I have the
from
plan.
what was told to me by the Board of Health, health agent,
Joe.
Joe, that the existing septic system should work. Or pretty much is drawn out that it will work. No matter if we put the clubhouse on the putting green, or if you put it down where the existing clubhouse is now. That we can tie into that, because that was a big concern of mine, you know, right, so you gotta put a septic system in now for all those people. You're multiplying it by 10.
Yeah.
What do you get now, 2 urinals and a
Yeah,
toilet and
one urinal and 3 toilets.
3 toilets? So this is gonna be an
So
expense from
they
there.
wouldn't require,
Yeah.
it wouldn't require a new septic?
That's correct.
That's,
It's
Yeah,
also,
we get it right the first
he
time.
gave me
I guess
this-
so. But it's not the number of, it's not,
No.
it's the number of people.
It's by what number of water they use.
Yes, it's the number of people that use
Gallons
the
per
toilets.
day,
It's
I mean-
it's a capacity thing.
Right now, the septic system calculations are for 160 lockers.
This is David's building right here.
Right, Doug, 160 lockers, 60 seat snack bar, a 60 seat restaurant, 4,000 square feet of office space, and 25 employees.
So your septic was built for a.
The
bigger
septic was
facility?
built for the expansion.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what
that's
the,
good news. That's
read
very good
those
news.
calculations on top,
Yeah.
so 120-ish people, is that what,
160 lockers. Yeah,
160, but that's including staff, right?
No, with 25 staff on top of it.
with 25 on
Close
top
to
of it.
200.
Now, the 25 on top of it also includes maintenance, because they use the same septic
Right.
system.
Right, because Steve's building's down here, he pumps up over here. He pumps uphill to this is where the flagpoles are, this is where the septic system is.
Yeah,
This
so
is Dana's building here. Dana's building pumps into it here as well, and then the leaching field is over there near
goes up to
7.
7. Yep.
Legion,
And the
right.
putting green is over there.
That's-
So if
that's
we
seven.
build the building over
Right.
there,
That's-
this is gonna have to be an engineer's design.
So,
Do we need to
That's called
pump
the
it to
septic.
here?
Legion.
And then let it go back into here? I mean, I'm not a septic guy, but
So 120, 145, so is I mean, this is just a question, I'm not even positive. But 60 snack bar, 60 restaurant, 25 employees, that's 145.
Right, people.
So does that mean our layout or our plan should only account for 145 person capacity? Otherwise, we need an updated septic?
That, to me, I would leave that to the architects and.
Yeah.
The architect will coach us on that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
100%. They have, There's formulas for all that stuff. And I
So
think
we just need to make sure that the architect sees this and knows that they have to operate under these
I'm
parameters.
sure he's gonna know
Yeah.
exactly what he can and
Yeah.
can't do.
Agreed.
Right. You know, any information we can provide for him is helpful in the sense that he doesn't have to go searching for it himself. But, you know, I'm assuming the septic system is gonna be, you know, a point of interest for them, as well as the electrical, and then you have all the irrigation system,
Right.
that the
think
underground
Steve-
water, there's a 10-inch main, I heard, that
Yeah, we
comes down
talked
the
about
road.
that, two,
To the
Hydrants
clubhouse, right, down there, and that's what they use for the practice punting game.
Right.
Also supplying water for you guys.
Mhm.
Right, they put that's where the water ends in town, is right at the golf course. There's no other hydrant past that. They brought it from Perry Hill to the top of the golf course and then
down to the golf course, yeah.
back.
Sounds like they're in good shape as far as the infrastructure part.
Yeah.
As we move forward, do we need to delegate work for individuals to contact people, to get numbers? And because, I mean, we meet here, but who's gonna do the outside work of contacting people and trying to figure out what does this cost, what does that cost? I mean, it's great, we can go to Southern Marsh, we can go to the Resi, we can go anywhere and come up with like ideas, and then we can come back and go, you know, how they had that club, that pro shop over there, or they had an office over here, we should, you know, angle it this way and all that, that's gonna be, or is that the?
Is that the architect? I think that's the architect's
I was gonna
That's
say
it.
that, John, the architect is, you
Yeah.
give him that plan, he's gonna
He's
tell
gonna
you.
have to come up with a dollar figure for it.
Yeah,
I mean, you go to Southern Marsh and everybody goes, wow, this is pretty neat, you know?
Mhm.
You know, okay, well, we can duplicate what they have.
Right.
And, I mean, they had, Wayne was saying, oh, there's an office at Southern Marsh.
Yes.
That's,
So I'm saying, I would
that's
recommend,
important for you.
yeah, I
Right,
would
you need
recommend
an
putting it.
office for the staff,
Even if
that's
it's,
one of the
even if
rules.
it's for insanity purposes.
Well,
to go
not
in
just
there.
that, but I was gonna explain that when I talk to sales vendors, the club car vendor comes in, or the,
You need a
yeah,
little privacy.
the bud vendor, or
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
come,
Is
come
that
and
what
place
it
an
costs?
order. Right now, I do it.
You don't need them
I
standing
do
by
it in the
the
pro shop.
Pro
I
V
got
ones.
guys coming in trying to check it, I'll be right with you, I'm in a meeting.
Everybody gets, you should have an office.
It's right in the back of the pro shop if you look at that plan.
Right,
Yeah,
they
park the
usually
lot.
off the, right, I've seen that previous, that the
I said we
offices
go take a
off
look
front
at
shop
it, want to
can
set
work.
something up to go out.
I can set something up to
Yeah.
visit Southers Marsh.
Right,
Sure they'll let
I'm
us.
pretty much available anytime, I mean, I can make it anytime, so.
Yeah, we'll,
I mean,
After
we
making a
glad to
couple of
drive
trips,
it.
we will.
During the day, I would assume, so whether it be a weekend thing or, but what do we know?
I checked, I was gonna bring, I offered to bring gas, but they're not open right now in the off season. It's my
So,
understanding.
Josh,
I don't, yeah.
She emailed me today on something I was collaborating with her on, so I know they're in the office, and we can ask them.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you guys walking in and.
Now,
There's
let
a barn.
me throw that out
Barn's
there.
still open,
Should we
right?
invite
All year
a
round.
selectman to come and check it out with us, to take a look at it, so they, I mean, kind of, that's not a bad benchmark.
I think
To get it,
the
to
vibe I got,
conceptualize.
the vibe I got from that first meeting was,
Yeah, we're on
You
we're
guys
on
take care
our
of
own.
it,
Yeah.
get back to us with.
contact us after you go to the other committee.
Right,
We could go to Southers Marsh Southers Marsh and Resi in 2 hours.
Yeah.
It takes 30 minutes to get there, and then on the way back, we stop at Resi, take a quick peek, everybody get a feel for what they look like.
right. I think it's important over the next 12 weeks that we try to stay focused on one thing, like okay, we take another week and we go and see things. After that, we're gonna start making decisions on like, okay, A and B, we're gonna put, come up with ideas, to put it on the putting green, come up with ideas to put it where the existing place is. Just as an option, A and B. you
I
know.
think those two are the only viable spots.
Right, right.
And
Within reason, yeah.
Should that be left up to the golf committee and?
Well, I think in the end, they probably will. If-
There's
if-
step two.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
there's
step
step
one.
two, we're step one. We
So
got
you
the
create
empty,
the
we got the
options.
empty paper.
Right.
We've got nothing on the paper.
So-
So it's what we put together and send forward, and then they're gonna work it, and, at that time, working with the architect while we're involved in it, and then it'll go to the committee, Because once again, too, we've been appointed to do this job, the committee, they're extremely day-to-day, you know. So, you know, they're running the show.
Right,
Wow.
so, I mean, we might agree to a plan with, for eight bar stools and 6 toilets, and they go, now we want 4 and 2.
Right, they're gonna work it.
They're gonna do whatever they need to do.
Mr. Chairman, question is, last week at our meeting, the architect had said something about a survey or questionnaire type sheet that was gonna be generated so that people can have some input, so that we can look at a piece of paper and say, okay, here's what we're looking at. We haven't done that yet. Is this some way to contact the architect to say, hey, we kind
I'll
of need...
give them a call this week. I mean, now that these officially signed on, I mean, it was still wasn't our architect
Okay.
until he signed the paperwork, and we hired him officially.
Only because it'd be nice to see something where it gives us an idea or a direction of what people are
Right.
looking for. I mean, we're at the brainstorm section right there, so everything's pretty wide open, we're throwing ideas around. But if we want to come with a concise plan, we've got to follow
Right,
it
we gotta
down.
start, you know,
Yeah.
picking the spot, deciding the size, you know,
Right.
playing out every room in the clubhouse, you know, getting it organized, so in 6 weeks or 7 weeks, we got something that's getting solidified and
Yeah, I
not.
don't know if Rich said it before, you know, you did go down there and walk where this putting green is. You need an excavator type guy, and I don't know, an architect, an engineer, to say, yes, we can dig all this earth up, and that's a big ticket right there. I don't mean money-wise, but that's a big, valuable input. Can this be excavated?
Correct.
And
What's underneath that?
incorporate? What's underneath, I guess, can always be moved. Unless we hit ledge.
I was just gonna say,
We
you
talked
know,
about that, there is ledge on one corner, they were talking, the architect,
Yeah.
wasn't the architect that was talking about that?
Wasn't that a gravel pit years ago?
Somebody was,
Yeah.
no, just
Parts of
recently.
it.
Somebody was just talking about that at the last meeting, I believe, that they had a site plan and there was ledge on one far
I'm sure when
corner.
they built the golf course, they ascertained all that information.
That was
Probably
mentioned.
dig that up.
Yeah, that probably
Yeah.
historical work. I know when we did the schools, we did test pits to see what was there, and we did hit ledge and had 2 blasts, and that, A, set us back, and B, started jacking the price of
Yeah,
the building.
it goes up.
Yeah.
But again, we stated there is a significant amount of land over there, so if we need to shift it in any direction, there's, if as long as it's away from 18, we have all the space in the
That's
world.
the practice green.
Right,
That's 10,
So
that's
there should be
7,
some sort of
that's
documentation.
18.
right.
So, yeah, and then you have to consider, we're gonna cut these trees
All this,
down.
could all this be
Right,
removed as
you
well?
can get,
That's the
you
leaching
own
field.
all this
This
space.
is
7, 10-7.
That's
That's
legal,
leaching.
So not this,
not that.
right, so this, if the idea is to put it here,
That
we have all kinds of space
Yes,
over here
and,
too
I
to.
mean, the current tent and this, so I mean, all that is, you know, you can, it's clay, you can make it anything you want.
Right.
You got plenty of space over there to
Oh,
put
yeah,
something in.
7's over there. I understand.
And then the architect's gonna come in and wherever we decide to put it, and they'll reconvene the paths and put them where they need to be around the building.
What's key is how cars come in, how they go out.
But they're gonna figure that out.
Right. Is it 18, is it too congested? You know, how many
Right.
times do the leaves get done and all of a sudden you look out and there's 20 cars ready to be put in and they're just all over the place.
Right, well, that was a concern of mine, as I stated, was.
So you need an
was
individual,
staging-
an employee.
Staging on the release and on the comeback. You
Yeah.
know, when you have an outing of 144 guys, when they come back with their cots, I mean, you need space right now.
Well, this
We
is all
made them
opening up, but you're talking maybe somewhat of a practice facility over here, right?
With,
But
on this side.
where the current,
This is the current building, you could do,
all of that would be space
This is all-
available for carts coming in and out.
I know, but, and that was my point before, is if wherever the clubhouse is, you want the cart location to be
Yeah.
in close proximity to that, cause
Yeah.
you're not gonna,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
you don't wanna be going 40 yards to get 74
Right.
cots on the
Yeah.
run.
Yep.
A question for you, with the existing clubhouse, when you build the new one, is the existing going to stay until the new one is done, so you can just go into it?
That's
Or
what
you
we're
home-
hoping. Well, you need, yeah, that
You
would
need
be
something.
ideal.
That's
I
what we're
mean, you need a place to
He
live.
talked about an 8 to 12 month project, so it's,
Right.
you need something in
Yeah,
order
take a look
for.
about that.
So you
Yeah,
can't put it where the clubhouse is now,
Yeah.
because
Talk about
Yeah,
that.
that's gonna have to stay until the project is
Well,
done.
we need functioning in that until they break ground.
If this does go in,
I don't think anybody's looking to,
leave the
I
double wide.
haven't heard an idea thrown out to replace it exactly where it currently is
Should
though,
go
right?
back to the site too. when-
I guess if that idea came up and it was a good idea, they could.
If you had
have-
to-
You have a temporary
You can figure it out.
place to check in, you know,
Yeah,
for.
they do that all the time. Whenever they renovate, Newport
Yeah.
National's going through that right now.
Yeah.
They have a trailer, it's nicer than what we have, but
Sure.
they're building they're a different level
Right.
of golf. They're
What are they
building
gonna
a
do with the
giant.
trailer after?
Probably rented it.
Is it still on wheels?
Donate it to the town.
Check the tire pressure on those
They
things.
can donate it to the town.
So all these things end up being money issues in a sense.
A big question I have is, if this gets too expensive to move it to where the putting green is, I know that's the opportune place, right? Is there gonna be heartburn in this committee if we have to put it where the existing building is?
No,
Because of
I
budget?
think that's plan B, you know?
What's,
I mean,
what are thoughts on it between 9th Green and 7T, right here? There's a huge space right there, it'd be probably easily accessible for any delivery trucks and whatnot, still really right next to the,
Is it
right?
wetlands over
Right.
there?
It is low and wet. I'm not sure if it's technically wetlands.
It's two kinds of wetlands, there's
It's on that plan that you
isolated.
had, the
But
wetland.
that's
I
swampy.
think that is, I think that.
I think it's wet.
Comes into the wetlands.
Conservation should have those plans.
Right, because
We
this
did-
is
yeah.
designated wet.
When they
and-
built this
but
place,
This is also.
they had to go and flag all the wetlands,
Yeah.
right? And wetlands change over time, but they have to, it all has to be flagged. There's bordered vegetated wetlands and the isolated vegetated wetlands. The isolated ones, you can work on.
So we have a special page if you.
Bordered vegetated wetlands, I think you have to replicate,
So,
we don't have to.
at the end of 9, right next to the cotton
Be
path.
over here, wouldn't it?
That's the
Left
clubhouse.
side of the end of the cotton
There's
path on 9.
there's
In
a parking
between
lot.
9th Green and 17.
That's over here. No, it doesn't have it.
Doesn't have.
Doesn't have.
Well, that's 7,
Yeah.
so I don't know, I can't read wetlands.
On
Can I
this spot
just
on
put it on the table so I can see where the light is? I need light to see.
that you have identified as places where you.
This is the clubhouse.
Or what?
No, this is the first shot. Steve and I have always discussed over the years using the putting green,
Okay.
and then I've defaulted those.
I'm looking for somewhere else on the property where it might be.
So,
See, here's a BBW.
between you and Steve,
This is a bordered vegetated wetland,
you come
so
up
if
with
this
something
were,
to say,
where's
you
the
know,
spot he was just
if
suggesting?
you're not gonna leave the clubhouse where it is and you're going to.
DPW buffer zone, so this is a wetland.
We would recommend based on our.
Yeah, I can check.
My thought is between you and Steve.
These are
Right.
elevations, the
That's
topographical
fine with me.
views.
Yeah, no, I mean-
You guys live the course.
Yes.
Areas,
And-
see the buffer zone, so here's the
We
buffer
always
zone is
assumed
right
if
here.
it wasn't
And you
where
need
the
to
putting
be
green was going to be.
100 feet
then it
away
would
from the
probably
buffer
be
zone.
tent cover.
Okay.
So that this defines the BDW all
Yeah,
the way
yeah,
down.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that
So
far.
it is on the
But my
drawing.
thought is, Dana,
Yeah.
you guys live that place.
Yeah.
So that's not
This
much
is
of it.
7, like you
Yeah,
said.
well, it's
Just, this is the
You
7.
gotta
Yeah, right, yeah.
Hands up, you know?
Yeah,
where it is now
Okay.
is basically the main artery
Yeah,
of all the cot paths where they come through. So you go down 1, you come through on 6,
Yeah.
and we're right here.
okay,
You go up on 7,
yeah.
we're here, you
Right
come
there.
back on 9, you're here again, you go up to 10, and we're on the spot, and then you come down 18. So everything kind of
And it
feeds.
works for you
It
well.
comes through, it works for the town well, because at all those positions, you can use the restroom, you can pick up a
Yeah.
snack, you pick
Okay.
up another beer, you know,
So it checks off all those
it
boxes
checks
the way you're
off
looking
all
for.
I don't know if they planned it that way
Yeah.
initially, but it works extremely well as far as the food and beverage operation for this golf course.
So the question I have is, who designed this initially?
Cornish, Silver, and Munger.
Yeah, right, so, yeah.
Because my thought is, you know, should we talk to
They
them?
come.
And say,
So there's gonna be
They're not-
engineering drawings
I-
available
well,
somewhere on top of what we
At
have.
least a half a dozen times.
I get nothing.
No,
All right, so gentlemen, how do you wanna plan forward now?
I'll try
Okay.
to.
All right, I think we have some
Talking
action,
out
there's some
now.
action items.
It's not there.
Okay, I mean, do we wanna get together this weekend? I mean, is there people available this weekend, or is that tough, or we got?
This weekend I'm not available.
Okay, so, you wanna just go on your own, or do you wanna take photos, whoever can make it,
I mean,
take
we
photos.
can go to a reservation any evening, it's open at night. Okay, that's something we can do if we wanna make an evening next week, or even towards the end, what's today? Tuesday?
Tuesday.
We got days this week. I can absolutely have us walk through there. It won't be a problem.
You know, because I think if we want to come up with ideas, we need to address that first.